Hello, grade 8. How are you and how is everybody doing? Welcome to today's lesson, phrases, clauses, and sentences. All right, let's get to it. Now, a sentence, as we know, is a group of words that expresses a complete thought and can stand on its own. Any sentence that you say expresses a complete idea and makes sense without any more additions, right? If I say anything like Mr. James watered the plants or Mrs. James cooked dinner, it makes sense without me having to say anything extra. All right. Phrases and clauses are the building blocks of sentences. So we need phrases, we need clauses so we can build up our sentence. Let's look at the example. Under the table is a phrase. If I come over to you and say under the table and then I stop talking, then you would say, what is under the table? Who is under the table? What about the table? What's going on? It doesn't make sense. Under the table, behind the chair, in the morning, after they came, have brushed. All of these words, they don't make sense. So they don't make sense. They are phrases, right? All of these group of words that don't make sense on their own are phrases. Then we have a clause. Edward passed the exam although he was ill. Although he was ill is my clause here. Now, what is a clause? Now we know what a phrase is. Group of words cannot make sense. It can't stand on its own. It doesn't make sense. And then we have a clause. Clauses are a group of words that have a subject and a predicate. Okay? What does that mean? What is a predicate? Now we know what our subject is. It is the person or the place or the thing that has done the action or what is being talked about in the sentence. Now your predicate is the rest of your sentence that starts with your verb. The predicate starts with the verb. Okay, that tells you what is being told about the subject. So if I say, Miss Hind teaches English, Miss Hind is my subject. What about her? She teaches English. So teaches English, look, it started, if you notice, the predicate started with the verb, which is teaches. Teaches English, okay? Now this is what we call, teaches English is called a complete predicate, But if you were to be asked about your simple predicate, you would just say teaches. So the simple predicate in your sentence is just your verb, okay? All right, now, phrases, clauses. We have different types of clauses. What are independent clauses? Independent clauses have a subject and a predicate and can stand on their own. As you've noticed, the definition is very much similar to that of a sentence. So let's take a look at our independent clause. John listened to his father's advice. John is my subject. Listened is my predicate. And listen to his father's advice is my complete predicate, right? Listen is my simple predicate. Listen to his father's advice is your complete predicate. So technically, you are right. An independent clause or a simple sentence is an independent clause. This is an independent clause, and at the same time, it is a full, complete sentence. But let us get into dependent clauses. Dependent clauses are different from independent clauses. How? Dependent clauses cannot stand on their own and depend on, hence they're called dependent clauses. They depend on the independent clause to make sense. For example, Chris was tired because he hadn't slept at night. Sorry, there's a typo here. Because he hadn't slept at night. So, your independent clause, the clause that if you cut it from the sentence and it would still make sense, is what? Chris was tired, right? If you take it alone, this independent clause, and you put a full stop at the end, it can become a sentence, right? Okay. Because he hadn't slept at night is your dependent clause. If you come over to somebody and say, if you go to someone and say, because he hadn't slept at night, you would say, who hadn't slept at night? What happened? What's going on? So you would still need more information. That's why you depend on the independent clause to give you information so then you can make sense. Okay? So that's independent clauses, then dependent clauses. Now, like we said, clauses and phrases and clauses, they build up our sentence. So now we know the two types of clauses that we have. Let's see what kind of sentences they can make. Okay, a simple sentence. Very nice and simple, okay? It is a sentence which has one clause, one subject, and one predicate, which can be a verb or a verb phrase. For example, I ate steak dinner last night. I is the subject, ate is my predicate, and that's it. The rest of the sentence is, extra information, but I ate steak dinner last night. You have one clause, one subject, and one predicate, which can be a verb or verb phrase. For why? What do I mean by verb phrase? Look at the second example. I have brushed my teeth. I is my subject. Have brushed is my verb phrase. Okay? And then I have the rest of my sentence. One subject, one verb phrase, one clause. This is what we call a simple sentence. Okay? What are compound sentences? A compound sentence is a sentence which has more than one subject and one predicate. So it has two or more independent clauses, which are usually joined together by connectives, such as the fanboys. Well, 90% of the time they're the fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Okay? I've been granted many scholarships, yet I'm not sure which one I'll choose. I've been granted many scholarships is an independent clause. I'm not sure which one I'll choose is an independent clause. If you take each and any one of them, it can make a sentence on its own. So you have independent, and then you have your connective yet, which is one of the fanboys, and it acts here like a plus. Okay? And it doesn't matter. You can have 2, you can have 3, you can have 4. They can just keep on going as long as each and every one of them is an independent. So if you take each one of them, it'll still make sense on its own. So you have a simple sentence, one clause, one subject, one predicate. Then we have a compound sentence. It has more than one subject and one predicate and is joined by the connectives, the fanboys. Then we have complex sentences, which is a sentence which is formed by adding one or more dependent clause to the main independent clause. What does that mean? He was happy, although he was healthy. He was happy, although he was healthy. He was happy. If you take it, it'll make complete sense. It's independent. Although he was healthy. Who is he? Who are we talking about? It's dependent. It needs the independent clause to make sense. Okay? He was happy is independent. And then you have the dependent clause, which is although he was happy. Where is my connective here? My connective here is although. Although here is my connective or my conjunction. In the compound sentence, my conjunction was yet, or my connective was yet, and in the complex sentence, my connective was although. So if I were to ask you to pick out in our compound sentence, to pick out the clauses, you would say, I've been granted many scholarships, and then I'm not sure which one I'll choose. The connective is not part of your clause. The connective is not part of your clause. But that is not the case when you're dealing with complex sentences. If you have a complex sentence and you're being asked to state or to show where the clauses are, he was unhappy is a clause, and although he was wealthy is a clause. So your connective is part of your clause. It is part of your dependent clause. Okay? Basically, although is my connective here. Although is not one of the fanboys. So to make life easier, compound sentences, like I said, 90% of the time they're using the fanboys. Any other conjunction that is not the fanboys, such as although, because, though, since, all of these connectives or conjunctions, it is a great indicator that you are dealing with a complex sentence. Okay? So it's always better when you read the sentence, if you want to know what kind of sentence it is, read it completely, search for your subject, search for your predicate, and search for your conjunction. So if you have a compound sentence, you'll have one of the fanboys. And if it's a complex sentence, then it's not going to be one of the fanboys. It's going to be one of the many, many, many other conjunctions that we have. All right. I hope that was clear, everyone. If anybody has a question, ask me. Do not hesitate. And for the homework, what I want you to do is to take 9 words from spelling list 1. I want the three different words to be put in a simple sentence, and 3 different words to be put in a compound sentence, and 3 different words to be put in a complex sentence. do that in your grammar copybook, inshallah. Thank you very much.